I was really, really annoyed and rubbed up the wrong way by Jake making comments like that.
Even though it's straight off the game, the lesson I've taken from that is the one I've been telling you: we need more international players to play in our province. I think the biggest cheer tonight was for Bowden Barrett. He's not Irish. I say it again, I'm envious, really envious.
Welcome back to Surface Unscripted. We've got Casual, we've got Frosty, and Robin. I don't know how to feel. I'm not sure if you know how to feel, but on the one side, we saw this demolition job that Leinster did on the Bulls, where it's like, we rub it in the Bulls' faces once again. The chokers thing continue. But then on the other hand, we're like, well, no fucking Leinster's done it. And it just feels, it's got that aura of, now that they've won the URC, they just might win it all every single year again. Because it's about time that they did it, and they did it in a fantastic way. They've dominated the entire season. I feel a bit for the Bulls, to be honest, but also I feel glad. So it's like a double-edged sword. What do you think?
Yes, for sure. That's a good saying there, Casual. Yeah, look, as a Stormers supporter, whichever way this went was not going to be a great result. I think Leinster winning it now is just like, okay, are they going to go on that rampage that they were on previously a couple of years ago? I think we've got a lot to talk about. There's a few things that we discussed in the last, episode where we really broke down how we thought it might go. And some stuff we got right, and some stuff we got completely wrong.
Bro,
So,
we got about 90% of that game wrong.
Yeah.
Because the fact that we gave the Bulls a slight opportunity and they were nowhere in that game just tells you that we were bad. Right? I backed Leinster to get it done. So you can either give me a dorp back or you can just buy me a dorp. That's how it works, right? And then I just owe you one, whichever way. But let's talk about the game quickly. Before we get into the game, people, as you know, we're just two fans coming together talking about the game. We're not analysts of the game, just basically fans talking a bit of shit. If that's your type of vibe, please do remember to hit that like and subscribe button. We do appreciate each and every one of you guys that's just following this journey. But if we look at that game, the Bulls didn't have a sniff. They were dominated in attack, defensively. We spoke about the one place that they could have some dominance in the game, and that was physically. You look at what they did against the Sharks, where they scrummed the Sharks, that they made themselves look up into their own asshole, right? That did not happen this time around. Even the previous time that the Bulls played Leinster, they demolished Leinster at scrum time. There was no physicality in this game. I don't know where the Bulls were. Were they stuck at the airport out there in Joburg? Like, what was going on? That was a one-man show all the way through. Have you ever seen like a more dominant final?
Yeah, no, I don't. I mean, I'm looking back at some games and possibly Super Rugby with the Chiefs and some Crusaders finals, but I haven't seen a dominant final like that in a long time. I think in every facet of the game, the Bulls were dominated. Even in facets of the game where some people will say they have the strength against majority of the teams. So I remember last week we chatted a bit about, the head-to-head, the kicking game, the scrum battle, the attacking game, the defensive game. And in majority of those, we got a couple of our predictions a bit wrong. I think we start with the scrum to start off with, because you were quite heavy on the scrum. And that was just purely based off of, recency bias, because we just saw them demolish the Sharks.
Well, we've seen it all season. We've seen this Bulls back just blasting through absolutely everyone. They just couldn't get any front foot ball from the scrum, from anywhere. Do you reckon in this game we give more credit to Leinster, or just say the Bulls were a bit embarrassing? I reckon it's a bit of both.
Yeah, it's got to be a bit of both. I thought Andrew Porter played phenomenally. I mean, what minute did he go off? Like, they had him on the pitch for quite some time. He scrummed crazy well. His defensive game was good. He carried well. I mean, it's hard to say. Like, if we're gonna say, give Leinster the credit, but in all facets of the game, the Bulls weren't good. So was it just
Yeah,
a
but
purely
also it's
off
like in
game?
all facets, Leinster were good.
Yeah, I mean, that could be, but like, I can't think of one time in the game where the Bulls just looked absolutely like dominant in one section, like whether it be great kicking or a good 10 minutes of scrumming.
The
It was
kicking was
just
horrible.
purely kicking was horrible. We'll
To
get
sum
into
up the kicking game from the Bulls, were that cross kick from Vali Leroux that went straight to James Lowe, and him going off on what was it, Kanan Moody, like it was Kanan Moody that did the wrong thing. That is the way that you sum up the Bulls kicking game. That's the way that you sum up the Bulls game. Big boys didn't pitch up. Whoever we've complimented and whatever, I'm not going to disregard all the compliments that we've given the Bulls with the Vali Leroux, Mr. Fine Wine himself. Caden Moody's been great. David Krill's been great. Embrose Papier, all those guys, right? Through the entire season, they were brilliant. And I'm not going to take away from that compliment. I still believe that they could all be in a shout for Springbok jersey. But just purely off this game, which is what we're basing it on, that was a disaster class to the highest degree from all of them. Not even just from the big boys, just from the entire team. And then you have Jake with his comments afterwards. And we'll get into that in a second, right? Because that's utter bullshit, by the way. Spoiler. Just, they didn't pitch up. They didn't pitch up whatsoever. And Leinster, if you're a Leinster fan, you can feel extremely proud of your team. I mean, making a final look like it's the first game of the season for the one team and everything to play for the other team. Compliments. I don't have anything to criticize them on. It was just a masterclass performance. Shut down everything, clinical in attack, didn't let the moment get too big. They just kind of cruised home from the opening whistle.
Yeah, you mentioned a few of the stuff that we spoke about last week. I don't know if you recall, but I asked you if there's a couple things that you could say to Jake before the game. A couple tips, hints. What would you say? And you mentioned put pressure on Prendergast. Tackle him, apply a lot of like heavy runners towards his section. Make sure that he's in one-on-one tackles. Like just try and isolate him a little bit. We didn't see that. You also mentioned that get involved with the fans, get rowdy.
Jock Ninober even said it, that Sam needs to work on his one-on-one defense. Right? We're not coaches or anything, but it's pretty obvious to see. You see a weak point in the defense and you don't try and exploit that is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see at all the Bulls putting him under any sort of pressure. And I thought he had a really good game.
He did.
Yeah, he played really well. He was pivotal in that game. And I think he's also due to or the reason why Leinster had so much success on front football. His kicking was also phenomenal. And then another thing I mentioned was have a bit of variety. I didn't think we were going to see Vali Leroux doing cross kicks in his own 22 and shanking it. That's not really the variety I was looking for. And then you also said that you have a feeling that we can't play this black and white game as a Bulls supporter. You can't be playing this black and white game because Leinster are just going to pick you apart. You need a bit of variety. And I didn't see much variety. And where we did, it was just shit. So,
you know what the variety was? What my kind of vibe from it. Now, bear in mind, I was pretty drunk while watching the game initially. We had one of the boys proposed, so there was a couple of dopes involved. I had to rewatch the game, but then when I rewatched it, I was just like, a lot of the things that they tried felt that they tried it out of desperation, and not really in regards to this is kind of the structure and the game plan that we had to follow. If you get what I mean, like just trying to pull something out of your arsehole that just didn't work at all. So yeah, well, I'll just keep it at that for now. Well done to Leinster. I don't know what the Bulls want, but that's 3 finals that they've been in and a semi-final, right, out of the 4 seasons. Oh, now, bear in mind, as I just mentioned, with the 3 finals and the semi-finals, now you've got Jake White coming out and saying he needs more internationals in his team. let me just ask you before I make my statement. What's your thoughts on just that statement alone?
Yeah, well, I think for reference, or maybe in the edit, we can pop a little clip of what he had to say for those of you who haven't seen it.
Even though it's straight off the game, the lesson I've taken from that is the one I've been telling you. We need more international players to play in our province. I need what Leinster have. I need to be able to fight fire with fire. And that's not going to change, guys. I mean, I'm going to ask you a question. Leinster, Toulouse, Leinster, La Rochelle. I mean, what do you think you need to win those games? Academy players or in-season internationals?
I think, coming from a semi-final where you've beat quite a stacked Sharks team full of Springboks, then to go and say something like that in a press conference afterwards, just shouts of like insecurity in your own coaching methods and abilities. Like, look, kudos to you, Jake, for getting into a final. But how does a player feel, a Bulls player, a young player, seeing you say stuff like that? I'm pretty sure before the game, it would have been, you guys can do this, you can beat this fully stacked Leinster team. And I don't know, it didn't sit well with me for him to go and say stuff like that. Look, maybe some of the stuff is partially true, but I don't think that's something that you need to say post the final that you just got absolutely smashed in.
Yeah, you look at the reference that he even used, or the example that he even used. He was like, I would love to say Ergia, who's on the bench, go up there and warm up. And I'm like, well, you're talking about probably the best lock in the world, right? We all know Leinster's got more money than us, but let's not act like the Bulls are a poor team. This is the same Bulls team that's bringing back Jan Serfontein, who's been in France for years, to bring back Andre Pollard, was one of the highest paid players in the world, right? He's just beat the Sharks team, who's pretty much the Springboks team. You look at who's won the URC. This is the first time that Leinster's won the URC, by the way, because obviously it only became the URC when we switched over. The Stormers won it the first time, barely any Springboks, right? They made their name from there to go on and be Springboks. Then after that, you added as Munster, who we all know that the Irish guys are mostly from Leinster, whether they are bought by Leinster or born and bred through Leinster, that doesn't matter, right? It's not the full Irish team there. Then look at Glasgow, right? That's not a stacked international. Well, it's got a couple of Scotland boys, but a lot of them also made their name through the Glasgow team, coached by Franco Smith, right? So now finally, Leinster's done it. They've always been the favourites, to be fair, but they are like kind of a anomaly in the URC. Like no other team has the amount of internationals as they necessarily have. But Leinster hasn't won anything since the start of the URC in regards to the URC or the Champions Cup. So with Jay coming out and saying he needs more internationals, and I'm like, well, what's that based on? It's not like you don't have a team full of internationals. It's not like you don't have a team that's stacked with player of the season awards in there. Right, like if you had to make a team of the season, there's a good few Bulls guys that's going in there. Like you look at some of the guys, they would feel hard done by not getting into the Springbok squad, so they could just as well be internationals. So I'm just like, what is that based on? Because we saw it not working for the Sharks. You've seen it not working for Leinster necessarily, but obviously it's worked now. Finally, after all these years, it's just a cynical comment. I don't know what he's doing. You don't hear any other coaches say, we need more international players. Bro, seriously. Seriously. If you look at that performance, right, and as I mentioned, we're not stats guys, we're not coaches or anything, but there wasn't a problem of international players on that team. There was coaching problems. You could see it clear as daylight. I don't need to be an expert at rugby to see there were structure problems for the Bulls out there. I'm not trying to dig into the Bulls fans or anything, right? But they standards, like I'm pretty sure if you were a Bulls fan or I was a Bulls fan, I would go into this game believing this team can do it, right? Because they've already beat Leinster. They've already beaten some of the other teams. And now, because it's the final, all of a sudden we don't have enough international players. What do you want? Like, seriously, how does that make any sense?
He seemed salty to me. It was like a dig at Leinster, a dig at the players. He's beaten stacked Leinster teams before, multiple Irish internationals, plus your New Zealand boys as well that are in there. So I just don't see why those comments were necessary. It's not something that if I were a coach, and I'm not a coach, but if I were a coach, it's not something I would be saying after a game when, my
No,
team
yeah, exactly.
has made
I
it to that point.
want to be a fly on the wall when those players chatted to each other when they heard those comments when Jake wasn't around, because that is a crazy comment to make. Think about it, right? When Leinster dropped out of the Champions Cup against Saints, how many of Saints players were injured? I'm not taking away from Leinster or anything, but they got beat there by a Saints team that had about 6 injuries in just their back line. They got injuries during the game as well, right? And they still managed to get it over the line. Now, that was a heartbeat performance from Saints, and I don't think Leinster were bad at all. Like, I'm not trying to jump on Leinster for that loss. I think most teams would have lost against Saints that day, just the way that they performed. But it tells you that it can be done. You can't blame this on international players, because Saints were way worse off than the Bulls. The Bulls literally just missed Cameron Arnold. That's basically
Yeah.
it. And Gerard Steenekamp. Wow. Okay, cool. There's your 2 international players that's missing. But you've got your heartbeat of the team. You had all your talent there. You had probably your full strength team, except for those 2. Leinster went without Kalen Doris, one of the best players in the world, and they still made it look easy. So I was really, really annoyed and rubbed up the wrong way by Jake making comments like that. I think it's just wrong. It's completely wrong. And anyone that I don't want to say attacks him about that, but calls him out on a bullshit comment like that, I think it's fair, because it is a bullshit comment. Like, what's your standards?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I wonder if this is going to have any effect on his career as a coach at the Bulls going further. Because, I mean, just to be making comments like that, look, maybe in the back of his mind, he knows he'll never have as many internationals as what Leinster, and it's probably likely that he won't have as many internationals. So,
No
what are
one,
you
no
trying to
one.
say? Like, well, yeah, no South African franchise, bar the Sharks, maybe, is going to have that many internationals. So, what exactly is your plan then going forward? What
Well,
does it say to
now,
you?
obviously now he's got Andre Pollard filling in. He's got Jan Serfontein filling in, who was a very proud Springbok, right? Still plays brilliant rugby. There's 2 more internationals for you. So now, if you go and lose next season, what are you going to say then? Need more internationals?
Yeah.
I mean, how many internationals do you want?
Well, he
Like, it's
clearly wants more. He clearly wants more internationals because he was well aware of Andre Pollard and Zwartfontein coming, next year. So he knows they're coming. He's getting more internationals. So he made those comments regardless. He's wanting more.
well, no, it's utterly crazy. And like, I love Jake for his 2007 World Cup that he brought us and everything, but it's just a moan fest now, right? Like, it's crazy. It is utterly crazy to me. I will be interested to see, because there's obviously talks of Franco Smith not renewing a contract with Glasgow Warriors. If he does not renew, I'd say any one of the 4 South African franchises that are in the URC has to go for him. Has to. I think he's better than all the coaches in the URC in terms of that's coaching the South African teams. Him or Ruan Ackerman. I heard that there's talks about Ruan Ackerman also coming back. Either one of those 2, give them a shot. There you go. I think it would be sexy.
Yeah, I'd be happy with either one of them coaching the Stormers. We love Dobbo, but I think
Yeah,
Stormers
let him
need
go
some
into
rotation.
an advisory role or something like that.
Yeah. Put him in the, I don't know, players
Well,
WhatsApp.
to be fair, Dobbo's had to deal with a lot this season. We've seen Dobbo do it before. It's been a bad 2 seasons in terms of injuries. We cannot mislook that. I mean, I'm not going to use it as an excuse, but it is the facts of the matter. So if Dobbo stinks it out with a full strength team, because we have got the strength in our team to beat anyone. So if there's a bad season, sign me up for some Franco Smith, because he plays some sexy ass rugby. It is crazy. What he's done with that Glasgow team is absolutely out of this world. Was there anything else that you wanted to touch on in regards to the final, Leinster versus the Bulls, or can we move over to another talking point that I've got here for us?
Look, I think we covered most of it. So I'll be happy to move on. But yeah, I just want to give Leinster their flowers and all the supporters in the comments. You
Yeah.
can be proud of your team. Obviously, it's been a while since you won silverware. Sorry. So happy for Yokes and
Yeah,
ladies.
fully
But
deserved. Fully deserved.
yeah, fully deserved.
Yeah. Okay, let's move over to some Springbok talking point, because obviously we're 2 weeks away from our first game against the Barbars, but we've got a squad update. A couple of players released, one brought in, Boan Venter from Edinburgh. Congratulations to him. I don't know too much about Boan, to be honest. I don't watch Edinburgh too closely. So I'm not going to really discuss that one, but obviously we're very happy about it for him. Very excited to see him playing in the green and gold. Now, there's a couple of guys that has been removed from the squad. I think it was a 55-man squad, and it's come down now to 46 people in the squad. Obviously, a couple of injury replacements, and then we've also got a couple of guys that's been released. So we'll go through the injury replacements first. Lukanya Am, injured. Peter Steph to tackle, injured. Cameron Anakom, injured. And Troki, John Augustus, injured as well. Now, it scares me a bit with Peter Steph and Cameron Anakom gone, because I think that would have been probably the way that we would have wanted to play. Siya Kolisi, Peter Steph, Cameron Anakom. John Augustus also gone now, which would have been probably the backup 8, because I'm not sure what the fitness levels are of Jasper Wiese. He's been out forever now. Do we see Ivan Roos forced into that 8 jersey now? Surely, there's no one else. It's either him or Jasper. If I see Kwagga Smith in that 8 jersey starting the game, I'm going to blow a hissy fit. It is crazy. Let's not do that again. Give Ivan, my boy, a shot at 8. Please.
Yeah, and look, I know you'd be happy to see that. I'd also be happy myself. Rugby has a weird way to present opportunities when you least expect it. And I think for Ivan Roos a couple of weeks back, he wouldn't have expected to be in this position where, multiple 8 injuries, and now he's looking like, first, second choice to maybe slot in there, with the unfit, or we don't know the situation with Jasper, but if he's not fit, then you're looking at.
Well, Jasper's not going to come back and play 4 games in a row.
Yeah, so he's probably going to get given his chance, and I'm happy for him, but now's the time that the coaches need to back him, and he's going to have to perform out of his socks.
Yes. Please, just give him a decent run of games. I don't want this one-off game. Okay? Watch how they actually go and do something like a Lori Jager at 5, move Franco Mostert into the locks, or Ruan Orkia into the, not locks, into the Lucy position, or Ruan Orkia. And then they play like Siya Kolisi at 8 and Vincent Suchuka at 7. I can already see it. And then I will just know, okay, Rassie hates Ivan. That's basically what it boils down to there. Because I'm just like, I can see how Rassie just decides, okay, well, I'm going to play 4 guys out of position just to not play Ivan in position. That's just,
If he does that, then you know. I'm sorry.
Then the rumors are true. Then the rumors are true. Because seriously, then I just don't understand. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me there. Lukanya, I'm obviously out injured as well. Peter Steph Tutoy injured, but Peter Steph, I heard, it's not too serious. It's just recovering from an injury. He'll be back for the rugby championship, which I'm happy about. I don't want him to get injured in a Barbars game. I've said it before. I don't mind playing a fully rotated team against the Barbars. You just know it's going to be a feisty battle, that one. You don't want to risk any injuries. It's a massive year for us. Play some guys, get them some game time, give them something to get match fit with. Lukanya, we spoke about it. On form, we know with the history of he obviously deserves to be there, but on form, does he necessarily? I don't know. But it opens up the gap for maybe Ethan Hooker, where we like, well, he's not going to really slot into the wing position because there's so many others in terms of Kanan Moody's already a reserve there, Edwin van der Merwe is already a reserve there. Maybe that gives the opportunity for Ethan Hooker to be like the reserve outside center instead of, or just behind Jesse Creel, which will be something very sexy. So I'm not happy about the injuries, but it just opens up a bit more space for the guys that we really wanted to see. Because I think if something wasn't to happen to Lukhanyo, would we have seen Ethan Hooker at all in a Springbok jersey? Probably not, right? So what's your thoughts on the Lukhanyo and Peter Steff as the experienced ones that got their injuries now?
Well, yeah, like you said, Peter Steff, it's more of a resting period for him. Maybe just a couple.
Are we running a McDonald's ad in the background there?
What's happening? 2 seconds. Put my fire back on.
Freezing out here.
Freezing out, yeah. Yeah, look, I also don't really need to see Peter Steff the toy in these upcoming internationals. We know what he's capable of, obviously, and he's going to be there hopefully for the rugby championship. So that's all good. With Lukhanyo going out, we spoke about him in the semi-final. Thought it was a bit of a lackluster performance from him, trying too much at times, and this just gives some opportunities to some youngsters, some up-and-coming youngsters that we've felt in Ethan Hooker that have put their hands up week in, week out, scoring multiple tries, playing with intent, not only on attack but on defense as well. So, it's unfortunate that is injured, but to have a space open up now for the likes of Ethan Hooker, it's what fans dream of, for these guys to get given their opportunity, especially if we're sitting on the sidelines watching games as fans and having opinions and stuff. We want to see these guys get given a fair, good opportunity, especially in a position like outside centre where they can excel. So unfortunate for with the injury, but great that we might get to see Ethan Hooker get a proper run.
Yeah, we've got 5 other guys also released. Surprise! Jaden Henriksen gone, along with him.
Brother.
Yeah, Jordan as well. Which means Morne van den Berg has gone above in the pecking order. I'm really surprised because I know Rassie likes Jaden Henriksen. And I know there's some people that like Jaden, others that don't like Jaden. Right? We're not going to sit and comment on that. But I always thought like Rassie really, really likes Jaden. He's really fond of him. But I'm surprised to see him out. Like if I had to remove one scrum off, I thought they would remove like a Morne van den Berg. But clearly Morne van den Berg has impressed enough to stay in there. Jordan Henriksen gone as well. Kuan Horn gone as well. I feel a bit for Kuan Horn, but it's like Willie's already there. Fassie's there. Damian Willems is already there. Those are 3 guys already shooting for that fullback jersey. And it's like, well, Fassie and Willie's probably going to split the first couple of games because Willems has to sit out. Remember, he's still suspended. And then they probably want to give Willems a good run of games again to see where he slots into the system again. Right, so I'm not surprised on that one, but I do feel for him a bit. Renzo du Plessis gone as a flanker. Now, I wouldn't say I'm surprised with this one because he's still a youngster and those type of things. But if you look at the guys that just got injured, obviously that would have opened up a couple of other slots. But I mean, now that we've lost Peter Steff du Toit and Cameron Hanekom and John Augustus, I reckon we see a lot of Jean-Luc Dupree again.
Yeah.
So, and they've decided also to cut Renzo and keep in Yavan, which is surprise. Are you surprised with the Renzo one being cut? He obviously impressed enough at the Lions.
Yeah, no, he had a great season. He's a quality player, quite dynamic as well for the position he plays. What I'm surprised with is what you mentioned earlier was the Hendrickse brothers. I didn't see that one coming at all. So maybe Jaden got injured with cramp or something.
Yeah, wink. Yeah, and then finally the other one being cut is the varsity player, the youngster Nkotso Makatsa. I'm not too surprised with that one, as I just mentioned. The same with Ethan Hooker, where I was like, I can't really see where he's going to play with all the other guys that's there. the same thing goes for McCarthy. We're obviously very excited to finally see him play in the green and gold, but it's one of those things that he maybe needs to play some franchise rugby first. Obviously, a raw talent, but you've already got Cheslin Colby, Curtly Arendse, Kanan Moody, Ethan Hooker, Edward van der Merwe. So the wings are already really kind of stuck, and he's not going to slot into that fullback position or anything. So I'm kind of surprised with it, but also not surprised. I think it's good. It felt like a massive, massive squad that we have. Just cutting some of these down mean that we will see a good amount of game time for the ones that we want to see, right? Because I don't want to see a Dialinda and JC Creel every single game. I think it's good that we rotate a bit. I don't want to see Cheslin and Curtly every single game. I think it's good that we rotate a little bit because obviously 2027 is coming up close, and it's no new news to say that we have a aging team, right? Not that they've dropped off in quality, but you don't want to get after that 27 World Cup. It's like, well, what the fuck are we going to do now? Because everyone's just gone at the same time. Imagine going after the 27 World Cup and it's like, well, Bongi's gone, Marx is gone, Vincent Koch, Frans Malherbe, Eben Etzebeth, Lode Jager, Sia Kolisi, Pieter Stef de Tooy. Like, just imagine losing all of them, but no real young backups to kind of take the throne after them. So, yes, it's bad that there's injuries, but I think it opens up the gap for a lot of the boys to really go out there, show some face, show some heart that they want to wear the green and gold, which will be absolutely massive for us.
I think the most exciting player I'm looking forward to seeing, which we have seen briefly before, is Edward van der Merwe. Old Boris Boykie.
You reckon he gets some game time, some proper game time?
Get some proper game time, hopefully stay injury-free. I mean, that game that he played, what was it, against Wales? I felt he had an excellent game, so I'd like to see him in the green and gold a couple more times and get given a proper opportunity and show what he's made of.
Yeah, that's probably fair. I think one for me is to see how Damien slots back into that 15 jersey. I wonder if we might actually experiment with him in that 12 jersey, maybe something for the future. If we were going to say, okay, Fussy could be one that we want to further test at 15. Something to think about. Obviously, we've mentioned Ethan Hooker. Very excited to see Ivan Roos if he gets that game time. I want to see him stand out. And then kind of a underrated one is a John Luke, because he's always been kind of around the squad, but never really got that game time. He's played some sensational rugby for Sale now. That contract's end, and he's got a big move to Bordeaux in France. And you don't go to Bordeaux if you don't play the world on fire for an extended period of time. So I would love to see if he gets in there. Obviously, he's a threat absolutely everywhere. We know what a monster all the Dupree brothers are. So I'm excited. I'm kind of underratedly like the most excited to see what John Luke can conjure up, especially with Pieter Stef not being there. I think he can slot into that role very nicely of the limited time that I've been able to see him. He just kind of gives me that vibe. But that kind of wraps it up. People, please do remember to hit that like and subscribe button. We do appreciate you guys. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful journey, and we'll see you again on Friday. And we'll still figure out what we're going to talk about. Anyway, goodbye.